And as always, we're going to kick this off with our opening segment, Buy, Rent, Burn. Each of us picks a video game, we play them all, and then we individually determine which of those games, if given the chance, we would buy, rent, or burn. The system for this episode is the Turbografx 16, one of my personal favorites. And Andy has selected Pac-Land. That was released in 1990. Justin has gone with Gunboat. This is a 1992 release. And myself, I have selected World Court Tennis, released in 1989. So we'll go through each of the games individually, kind of talk them over, and we'll go back up to the top, and we'll start with Andy's pick, Pac-Land. I'll briefly read the description here on the game from the back of the box. For Pac-Land, it is Pac-Man. The world's most famous game character is back. Help Pac-Man guide the fairy back to her home in Fairyland. But watch out, those mischievous ghosts are out to stop you once again. Use the magic shoes to help Pac-Man get back to his own home in 16 different rounds with multiple trips in each round. Eating power pellets and bonus fruit along the way. Fast, frantic, addictive Pac-Man action from beginning to end. Might have oversold this game, but Andy, what do you think?
Well, I think the important thing to keep in mind with Pac-Land is it's an arcade game from 1984. So we're talking about a port that's 6 years later.
Wow, that's a pretty good turnaround time.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a platformer game, which is completely different for Pac-Man. And I think they did an okay job at translating what Pac-Man is into a platformer. You know, you're getting power pellets, eating the ghosts when they're in trouble or, you know, in the way. But overall, the platform in itself feels a little bit wonky, but I think that's because of the arcade roots of it. You know, you played in 1990 and you're like, well, Mario Brothers nailed this, like, or, you know, Super Mario Brothers nailed this how many years earlier? And Pac-Land just feels really weird in that regard. But and the art style, I love the art style, but at the same time it's like somebody told them to open up Microsoft Paint and just take the line tool and shape tool and like do fill buckets, fill it full of colors, and that's the graphics of the game. But it's something totally original. You don't see that on any 8-bit systems or anything like that. It's all straight lines, solid colors. It's kind of interesting. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, it definitely stands out. And like the one thing is, even though it's a side scroller, it's still like instantly recognizable as a Pac-Man game. I mean, they've done a good job of translating like what you'd expect Pac-Man to look like in that, you know, new environment instead of just like a map game. So that's cool.
Yep.
It is funny though, you know, speaking of like the source of this and like being it's an arcade port. So it's one of those arcade games that's got a weird control. It doesn't use a joystick to go left and right. You have a button, a designated run left and a designated run right button. So that translated over to the Turbografx controller means that your D-pad is jump and your A and B buttons are run left and run right. So it's just kind of completely backwards from any other platformer you'll ever play. And that takes some getting used to like mentally undo years of gaming habit. But it works.
I had to check the controller mapping right away and then be like, oh yeah, this is how that game is.
Yeah. Otherwise you'd for sure think you had something wrong with your controller.
Yep.
Like, wait.
My mapping must have been different because mine was the arrows.
Oh, really?
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I wish. It would have felt a lot more natural.
So like I jumped in and movement was fine. The only thing that happened is I got to the fucking diving board and I didn't know what to do.
Right? And that's been my experience every time I played this game. I've never gotten past the springboard.
Yeah, and like I was telling you earlier, all you have to do is keep pressing the over button, or basically the jump button, whatever is on the D-pad, and just keep pressing that over and over and over, and then you get there. And yeah, it's not something that you would think of doing at all.
That's crazy. Yeah. I you know, it's funny because like I swear I thought I tried everything, but yeah, I would never have guessed to tap the. I mean, why would that make any sense?
Right.
That's like such an unnatural thing to program into a game.
Well, and then he gets like you finish that, and then he gets like the ruby red slippers from like the Wizard of Oz, and all of a sudden he can do double jumps now. It's like, this is really weird. I mean, what's Pac-Man doing? Are we the next one? He's getting a dress here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is this the origins of Miss Pac-Man? And then you see at the end of the level, no, Miss Pac-Man's there with baby Pac-Man too, which I mean, the whole aesthetic of the Pac-Man designs are based on the TV show. I'm pretty sure. Sure seems like it, the old cartoon, but
Yeah, that could very well be. You know, it's interesting too because like this is one of those platformers that reminds me almost like a Adventure Island, where it's just the platforming is so like one leveled and just sparse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're more running and jumping over obstacles than anything else. Plus, there's a timer on it, which I assume that was more because it was an arcade game. So it's like you're constantly running, but like really the landscape isn't that varied. It's kind of just like a flat plane for the most part. I mean, it gets a little bit better later on, but it feels very similar to that, minus the very fucked up control scheme.
yeah, you'd almost play this like an endless runner, except you can't. Eventually, you do hit a section where you have to stop, go the other way, pause, and yeah, it just seems weird that way. That, like you said, like at least in Adventure Island, I feel like you're constantly running, right? Like that's the whole point.
Right.
Where this, it's like you hit a point, and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to stop here, and it's a little bit different in that regard.
Yeah. No, it's interesting though. It's like very visually appealing, I think, and it's an interesting game that everybody should play at least once. So, I guess what do you think? Move on to Gunboat?
No, let's move on to yours, to World Court Tennis.
I wish. All right. So Jason's joining the podcast. He's gone with Gunboat. So Justin's pick is Gunboat, of course. So the description on this one: twist down treacherous jungle waters with 8 tons of firepower and the threat of a deadly ambush around every bend. Command a Navy Riverboat Patrol, PBR, I guess is the abbreviation of that, in the most hostile and claustrophobic action, rivering warfare. First hone your critical combat skills with gunnery, grenade, and pilot practice. Then report for duty and equip your boat with the hottest weaponry for the mission. Take out enemy craft with twin armor-piercing 50 caliber machine guns, blast land-based positions with 40 millimeter grenades, or fire your own 60 millimeter mortar launcher and get ready to hit the deck. I feel like that was very specific on the artillery, which I don't know if that makes the description better, but Justin, how great is this game?
If we were to rate it by blobs from David Crane's Amazing Movie Time, it would be a negative.
Yes.
This is probably the worst game I've played. And I've played a couple that Ryan's brought.
Hey! Come on now.
No, it's bad. Between the 20 minutes or whatever it takes you to get into the actual game, because you don't know what button to push.
Yeah.
To getting into the game and not knowing what to do.
Right. The menu navigation is horrendous.
It's just a terrible game. I played it for, I don't know, probably 40 minutes-ish, 45 minutes. And I didn't do anything. I pushed select a bunch, because I guess that's what you have to do.
That's pretty a good representation of the Vietnam War, though.
You just stumble around, push buttons,
Didn't do
don't
anything.
really do anything.
Yeah.
Oh,
For the first time, I finally understood why the Vietnam War started, if they were shooting our PBRs.
because they control so poorly.
No, our Pabst Blue Ribbons.
Oh yes, I think you had to have PBRs, didn't you, in the Vietnam War?
Yeah.
And it was just that and smoking the marijuana out of your shotgun.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have too much of a problem. As soon as I picked the select, I found out the select button is what you need to get through those menus. But boy, when you said, hey, let's do Gunboat, I was excited because I'm like, oh, that sounds like a good game. But I was not expecting like a military simulation that they were trying to pull off like this. Just by that description, like you said, it's like very specific artillery, guns, and all that stuff. So there, you can kind of tell what type of game that they were trying to do here. And I don't know. Once you get into the game, it's almost like an open world game, but stuck on a 8-bit system with like a frame rate of like
it's so bad.
5 frames a second, maybe.
Yes, even when you adjust your like ship speed up to like max, like 5 knots or whatever, like still nothing moves. Like it's still a static image. It's so bad.
I feel like if you would have played on, computer back years ago, it would have played quite a bit better. Because I think it came out for that, didn't it?
Possibly.
I bet those type of simulations always did.
I think it probably would have played better on that, but I don't know. I struggled with everything.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like once you get through the menus and you get into the boat, like it drops you into a gunboat, but like from an on deck perspective, right? So like you're sitting either from a mounted turret perspective, or you can pan to below deck where you're controlling speed and things like that. So, I mean, I guess like from a set piece, like if I was going to look at like a screenshot of this, that looks great. But then when you put like the actual enemies off, further off in the distance, it's just such a muddied mess and nothing controls well. Nothing is explained for shit. It's just such a frustrating experience. By the time I got through the menus and figured that out and got into the game, I was already over it. It was not good.
It's about the same for me. I gave it still a decent amount of time just because I was like, I'm guessing I'm missing something.
Yeah.
And I probably am, but it wasn't a pleasant experience.
No. I mean, I got in there, I blew up a couple ships, and I'm like, that's probably what this game has to offer, just with maybe different scenery. And I don't need to find out if I'm right or not.
Are you able to switch weapons?
Maybe. Probably. I mean, I selected 3 weapons for loadout.
Yeah, you picked 3 weapons, and I only used 1.
Yeah, it's a disappointment. Like Andy said, like I thought, like I almost bought this game at a gaming convention for like good money because I had no idea what it was, and I was like, "Oh, I bet this is gonna be sweet. It's gonna be like an arcade type shoot 'em up game." No, like this is not what you. The thing is like the Turbografx has such a small library, and most of it is better than average. To like find a game like this just kind of sucks.
And like the pictures, you're like, "Oh, this looks interesting."
Right. I mean, the only thing they got right is like literally you have a gun on a boat. I mean, it's probably the most accurate title of any of the games we played here, but that doesn't seem.
Yeah, this game came out for the Amiga, DOS, Turbografx 16, and the ZX Spectrum. So, like, how is that? Whoever made that decision to be like, oh yeah, get it on the Turbo, like, it's very strange.
Dude, I bet this looked like shit on the Spectrum.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that was like 8-bit, right?
Yeah, so is Turbo, but
it's got a 16-bit GPU, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or no, it's 2. I forget. I don't know. Yeah, that's
something
true.
like a hybrid, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, but even so, like even on PC, like if it's this slow, like there was a ton of like airplane simulators back then, the same era, that were PC games. And at least those were fast enough. You move fast enough that you could actually get like a spatial awareness. Where this was just like I don't even know how far like away that guy is, or I don't even know what I'm looking at. You know?
Yeah, you couldn't even really tell. Is that a boat that I'm shooting at, or is that just an island? Because there's no definition to indicate. Yeah.
And then I tried to run into the boat to see what would happen, and you just drive through it. Maybe I'll sink it this way. Not going down by being shot.
Nice.
We probably would have won the war if we actually had no clip on.
That's military tech that we need. Somebody's got to be working on that, I hope. All right. Let's move on to World Court Tennis. Description, it's your serve. Whop. The ball clears the net at 100 miles per hour and raises a little dust inside the chalk line. An ace? Question mark. I don't know why I said question mark. But anyway, no, wop. Your opponent returns with a powerful backhand and kills your plan of charging the net. No matter how you play, with up to 3 friends, singles, doubles, or against the computer, World Court Tennis will tax your endurance and test your skills with action. It's fast and furious. Just don't scream at the line judge. He's never wrong. First of all, there is no line judge in this game. And I didn't know that you could play with up to 4 people. I didn't know this used the turbo tap. That's kind of cool. I don't know that I would do that. So yeah, I mean, World Court Tennis is exactly what you'd expect. It is a tennis game. It's solid enough, maybe a little more steep on the difficulty curve from the point of entry than most tennis games. But the reason I selected this one and the reason that everyone should play this game is that outside of your singles and doubles mode, there is a quest mode, which is probably the only mode you'll ever want to play in this game, because basically what it does is it is a top-down RPG with tennis. So you get in this village, the king asks you to go find the tennis court. Some villain has come in and stolen every tennis court from the kingdom, and it's your job to set out and find those tennis courts, and he sends you on your way. And you go out in the world and you have random encounters that result in tennis matches. And it's all got this sort of ridiculous Japanese Turbografx humor that you see in all of it. It's like just so ridiculous. You go, first thing you do is go to all the shops in town and they just tell you like the most generic like RPG trope stuff, like buy better crap, you'll do good. And then you go to another guy, he's like, buy this thing. And then, you go to the king to ask him for stuff, and he just simply says, go, which I found funny. So basically, like, they just explain to you, like, in the most kind of sarcastic way, like, what you should do, like you've never seen an RPG before, which is funny. And then just the sense of humor in the random battles. I mean, when you start playing the tennis, like, it's just tennis matches, right? So if you lose, though, you reset back to the main city. The main village. So the goal is to just keep progressing and not losing, so you can explore more of the area to find the next towns. But some of the encounters are just funny. Like one of them that you'll hit is Jason with the hockey mask and all, challenges you. There's just some like bizarre looking people with just horrible facial distortions. Like there was a duck-lipped guy that I came across whose lips were actually larger than the rest of his face. It's kind of insane. So yeah, it's just this completely bizarre thing you would never expect to find in like one of the most mundane type of games that's on everything. It's just a simple sports game with this awesome little hidden mode in there. What did you guys think?
For that, like I honestly had no idea there was quest mode, so I didn't play that. I did play 3 solo matches or 1-person matches. And I hate tennis. In this game, I literally, I played those 3 games, and at the end of it, I was like, fuck tennis, it's not a real sport anyways. And that's how I ended it. Like,
completely missing out on the best part.
Yeah, I'll go back and try it, but at this point, this game sucks too. I wish I would have known it with the quest, though. Sounds entertaining.
Yeah. I just love how, to a T, it's like Dragon Quest. Like, that's exactly like the tile set of the RPG, and the map and everything. Even like text on black boxes, it's Dragon Quest. And I just love it for that. But yeah, like you said, the people that you talk to, that you have like NPCs, like they shouldn't even have them in there. Just put them in like the information in a box or something. Like it's like, well, somebody played an RPG right. And then they're like, well, we got to have a village of people and they need to say different things, and it's like, I go into this lady's house and she's like, you need to talk to people to get information. It's like, I'm talking to you and you're not telling me anything.
Right.
My favorite though was the girl who says, "This is Chicago," and it's like, well, I've been to Chicago. It certainly doesn't look like 4 houses out in the woods.
And a castle. Come on. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. This is Chicago. Of all places they could have put in there.
Yeah. Yeah, overall the actual core of the golf, or the tennis, I thought was lacking. I mean, if you really put your time into it and got the timing down, I think you could progress pretty well and actually get pretty good at this game. I mean, it's not unfair by any means, I don't think. It's just you have to put the time in to get the timing down of not faulting like I constantly was. And then just knowing when to stop running and hit the button, that's what I kept having a problem with.
Yeah, I think like the high volleys are like some of the hardest I've ever had to try and read in a tennis game. I will say that. Like I whiffed on those so much, but yeah, I mean it's not and that's the thing is the core gameplay of the tennis is just sort of like, okay, like this is all right, but when you wrap that just like Japanese ass goofiness around in that quest mode, it just kind of makes it like one of those games that you'll never forget.
For sure.
I mean, you'll never sink more than an hour into it, I don't think, in a sitting, but it's good for a laugh.
No, I mean, Golf Story is pretty much this game, they fully realized. So it's pretty cool that there was something way back in 80, 89, you said?
Yeah,
that kind of like, hey, this RPG thing's crazy. What if we applied it to another genre? That's nuts.
I know. If only this had like set off a precedent to where every sports game had like a nonsensical RPG mode, I might have actually liked sports games as a kid, at least.
Yeah, there's a few of them out there. I mean, Mario Tennis kind of has one on the Game Boy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And then I think there's a crazy soccer one, I think, that does that too, but yeah, I'm not sure.
Are the random account, there just many different people, or?
Yeah, like basically you'll just walk around and it's like the old school RPGs where you just like walk around and all of a sudden like it stops and the screen pops up and there's a person there like, I challenge you to tennis. And then the weird thing though is like no matter how much you say I decline, they're like, the enemy is pushy. Like, Ryan plays tennis. Well, I named my character myself, so yeah. But basically it's just like that, except it's always like just a tennis match. So
They're never the same ones though, are they? Or do you end up going against the same ones?
I mean, I did see some repetition because I would lose and I'd get set back, but yeah, it's never the same people in order. It's just like these random NPC like overlays. And then sometimes you'll start out serving, sometimes they start out serving. If you can start out serving, you'll pretty much always win. But
I'll have to go back and try that mode.
Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, we've gone through all the games. Let's go back up through the top. Andy, we'll start out with your picks. What are you thinking on this one?
Yeah, this one's I'm kind of going back and forth for my buy. It's certainly not Gunboat, I'll tell you that. But I think just kind of talking to this convinced me that, yeah, I think World Court Tennis needs to be my buy just because how innovative that was at that point in gaming history, to take something that was crazy popular like Dragon Quest was in Japan and then apply it directly into a different genre just as a side mode into, this Turbografx game. It's kind of crazy. So I think that's going to be my buy just because of that. And my rent is going to be Pac-Land. And the reason I say that is if we were rating it on that game as a 1984 game, I would give it a lot more leniency. But since it came out after Mario Brothers and a million other, halfway decent platformers on the NES,
right.
It just does not hold up. But that art style is crazy. it's really basic and really dumb. Like it looks really bad compared to a lot of other things on the Turbo, but I still love it for how weird it is. It's almost like vector colored. I don't even know how to describe it, but that's going to be my rent. And I think it's pretty obvious that Gunboat is going to be my burn. I don't think it's as awful as you guys say, like from
that. It is.
From if I was in 1990 and was really into simulations and I didn't have a PC, sure, I might stick in there a lot longer than what that was. But I mean, the Turbografx was just not that platform, right? Like,
right.
It already
didn't have the horsepower.
Yeah, and the buttons, like it didn't have enough buttons anyway to pull off something like that. So
yeah, when select is used for select, something's wrong.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
Like that one would have probably been a game I would have played for PC because I played a lot of different simulation games, but it just, in my opinion, didn't work for this situation.
No.
Yeah. Yep. Justin, how about your picks?
Well, I'm going to start out a little bit backwards here. My burn is going to be Gunboat. Just like we had just discussed, it just doesn't work very well on here. I think if it would have been on PC, it probably would have been a little bit better, but I can't put any time into that game. My rent is going to be, I have to go World Court Tennis. I didn't play the quest mode. So as far as this game is, like, I really didn't enjoy this game, but I do want to go back and play the quest mode. So it's kind of a temporary rent because I want to see what that's like. But I will put World Court Tennis as my rent. So my buy will be Pac-Land. I really struggled with this game as well. The diving board I could not get past. But the presentation of the game and just, the look of it, I guess, I thought it looked pretty decent for how it played. So that would probably be my buy for right now.
Yeah, not bad picks. Yeah, I mean, I might as well get it. I mean, this is going to be obvious, so I'll get the burn out of the way too. But Gunboat, of course. Yeah, just for everything we mentioned, mostly the hardware limitation, it's just not going to be an entertaining game on the Turbografx. I'm gonna buy World Court Tennis just because of that quest mode. I don't know. There's just something very charming and like that's the sort of crap you're only going to find on the Turbografx. It's just goofy and it's worth a laugh and worth having in my collection for that reason. And in fact, I do have it in my collection. And I do have the next one in my collection too, which is Pac-Land. But I've never really liked that game a whole lot. Like Andy, you pointed out, there were just already at that point so many other more competent platformers that, especially with its like awesome visual art style, it's just so disappointing that the gameplay is so shallow. So that would be a rent for me.
But I think we've determined now, finally, that Ryan does indeed love Japanese role-playing games.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe I've been kidding myself this whole time. Although I did just put my newly acquired copy of Phantasy Star 4 in the other day and immediately decided that I needed nothing to do with that. So I'm going to have to work myself in slowly, I guess.
Yeah, you went full anime there. That's not good.